Good afternoon, and welcome to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I am your host, Kevin King. He is I, and I am him, the 800 Credit Score Man himself. And again, I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in and listening to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I truly, truly appreciate it. So let me tell you right off the top what we're going to talk about today. So basically, today's topic is going to be around credit cards, all right? So the question that we're going to ask and answer today is it ever okay to cancel a credit card? And then we'll explore what are the ramifications if you do cancel a credit card. How does that affect your credit? Does it help your credit? Does it negatively affect your credit? We're going to talk about and explore that today. However, before I get to all of that, I want to let you guys know, let me give you a point of information, if you will, that the month of April is National Financial Literacy Month. So it is the month that organizations get together and they try to educate each and every one of us about finances. Now that could include your budget, 401ks, pension, savings, all of those kinds of things in National Financial Literacy Month. So there is a credit score kiss for today. And if you're new to the show, first of all, welcome to the show. This is the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I'm here every Saturday at 1:30 Central Standard Time. That's 2:30 on the East Coast. Welcome to the show. And so the Credit Score Kiss is part of the show where KISS stands for Keep It Smart and Simple. And that's where the homework comes in. That's where you have to do something to help yourself improve your credit scores, or in this case, improve some finances or the knowledge about finances. So this is April, the National Financial Literacy Month for this year. And you guys, I want to talk about that a little bit today. So before we really get into the topic for today, where we're going to see if your credit cards, and if you cancel them, how that's going to affect you negatively or positively. Before we get into that, since it is National Financial Literacy Month, I do want to talk a little bit and encourage you guys to go ahead, if you're not involved in a savings plan at your job, like a 401k or something of that nature, I'm going to encourage you guys to go ahead and get involved in that. Save something for yourself and for your future. And I'm going to give you guys this example right here. So here's an example that I have about me personally. So my first job out of college, Indiana University, my first job out of Indiana University was with a small finance company. So I worked for that company for several years. We were bought and sold a couple of times. But when I first started working for that company, when I was eligible to join the savings program, which was a 401k, I decided to just dabble a little bit. Now, I knew I needed to save some money. I didn't know exactly how it worked at the time, but I knew that my company would match me dollar for dollar. So every dollar I put in, they would also give me $1. And then, of course, it was in the stock market, or there were mutual funds, and there's possible gains and losses. There's possible gains and losses in that, but I decided to go ahead and contribute. So what I decided to do is to contribute a dollar amount instead of doing a percentage of my salary or what have you. And again, I was just trying to test the waters. So what I did was I decided to participate with $50 per check. I was paid twice a month, so that was $100 a month. I didn't miss it at all. I wasn't making very much money, but I did not miss that $100 at all. So that's what I did. Over the 12 months, the first 12 months that I was in that program, then our company was sold. So since it was sold, I decided I'm going to hold back a little bit. I'm going to see how this company does, and then I'll start to contribute again. So over 12 months at $100 a month, I contributed $1,200. Then, of course, I said my company, they also contributed. They matched me dollar for dollar. So they gave me another $1,200. So you're talking about $2,400 just for me putting my portion in. Then I'll tell you this, over the next 3 years, that $1,200 that came out of my pocket ended up being $10,000. So in 3 years, I put in $1,200 and that money grew to $10,000. Now that money is still sitting in my 401k today, and it's been many, many years. That money's still sitting there and growing and compounding. And so that's what you need to do whenever you're eligible at your job. You got a new job or you have money sitting at your old job. Go back and get that money and put it into your 401k or whichever plan that you're able to have. Now there are Roth IRAs and traditional IRAs. There are all kinds of venues and avenues that you can use to save money. And if you're not participating and your company actually matches your money, then every month that you don't participate, you're actually losing money. If you think of it that way, maybe that'll encourage you to go ahead and put some money in. So you can do like me, start like I did, and with just $50 a paycheck. Or you can do a percentage of whatever you make, or you can even contribute more than that so you can plan for your future. At that time, I was really planning and saving for my future family, kids that I didn't even have yet. So I'm going to encourage all you guys during this month, the month of April, National Financial Literacy Month. I'm going to encourage all you guys to start to look at your 401k and participate in those plans. Make sure that you stay on top of those things because sometimes you could lose money. If you put it all in the stock market and say the stock market decides to reverse itself because it's actually doing really good right now and has for the last few years. If it decides to reverse itself, you want to be on top of that and make sure that you are. All right, so that's my soapbox about 401ks and contributing and saving money for yourself. That's my soapbox for today. So I also want to start to get into the topic of the day. So I said, is it ever okay to cancel a credit card? Is that ever the case? So in one word, yes, it's okay to cancel a credit card. But oftentimes what you'll hear me say that with questions, you'll hear me say that it depends. Same thing here. It kind of depends. Depends on what your credit situation is, how good your credit is, how bad your credit is, how long you've had that credit card, things like that. So let's explore if it's ever okay to cancel a credit card. And canceling a credit card means this. You're actually closing that card down. You no longer have use of that card at all. That is canceling a credit card. Now, when should you go ahead and do that? The first reason, really the first reason you should go ahead and cancel or close a credit card is if you are an excessive spender. If you can't control yourself. If you follow me on Twitter, I say know thyself, or I tweet that often, know thyself. And if you are an excessive spender, then you may need to cancel that credit card so you don't hurt yourself financially. So that's a very, very good reason for you to go ahead and cancel a credit card. Doesn't matter about your credit score or if it'll negatively affect your credit score. If you can't pay that bill, on time, then that's going to negatively affect your credit score. And that's a situation that you don't want to be in. So if you are an excessive spender, then maybe you should go ahead and cancel your credit card. A second reason why you would want to go ahead and cancel your credit card is because maybe there's identity theft. If you've had an issue and someone has gotten into your account, then you should cancel a credit card. Now, prior to canceling the card, of course, call your credit card company, call your bank, make sure everything is okay. But if you have been a victim of identity theft, oftentimes what will happen is that the credit card company themselves will go ahead and cancel that card. They most likely will issue you another card with a different number and everything on it, so it'll protect you from identity theft. They won't have to pay money back because somebody used the card without your authorization, things of that nature. So if you do have or have you ever been a victim of identity theft or think that you are, make sure you give your credit card company a call. And it doesn't matter if it's a Visa, a MasterCard, if it's American Express, Discover, doesn't matter who it is. If it's a store card, one of those jewelry stores or one of the, a Target, a big box store, something of that nature, then you need to give them a call and make sure that you are protecting yourself and your identity. So that's a second reason that it's okay when it would be okay and a good reason to close a credit card. A third reason that it will be okay to go ahead and close your credit card is this. If you have a high interest rate credit card, if you have a credit card and they're charging you 25, 26, 27% interest and you have fair, good, or excellent credit, you shouldn't be paying that much. Nowadays, yes, the Fed has raised the rates, and so then we are all paying a little bit more. But if you have good credit, there's no reason in the world that you should be paying high interest rates on a credit card. Now, if you have bad credit, that doesn't mean that you should go ahead and cancel that card because it has a high interest rate. You're paying a high interest rate because you have bad credit. And I've preached and preached and preached on this particular show about you getting your credit scores up so you don't pay high interest. What do I always say? If you get your credit scores up, it will decrease the interest rates that you pay and you'll save more money. So if you have bad credit or your credit score is low, then you will have high interest rates and you have no choice at this point. Now, some people are listening, their credit scores are starting to go up because they're listening right here to the 800 Credit Score Man show every Saturday, 1:30 Central Standard Time. They're listening, they're applying the things that I'm telling you to do, and their credit scores are starting to increase. So if your credit score has increased and now you went from a 580 to a 650, or maybe you've hit the 700 club, it may be a good time for you to contact your credit card companies and say, hey, my credit score has gone up. I want you to reevaluate how much interest I'm paying. See if you can get a lower interest rate. I think I told you guys before about a card that I had, and I believe I was paying 14.99% interest rate on this particular credit card. And so I gave them a call and said, hey, I don't think I should be paying this amount. And they lowered it for me. I anticipated that they would lower it down to around 10%, but I believe they dropped it to somewhere around 5%. So it does save you money, and it makes sense for you to give them a call, and it doesn't cost you a dime to do it. So if you have a card with high interest on it and you have a good or decent credit score and your score has improved since you got that card, that's a good reason to close the card if they won't lower the interest rate for you. Now, don't close the card if you don't have any other credit cards at all, because that's going to negatively affect you, and I believe we'll hit on that later on in the show for today. So, again, the top 3 things that I've told you about already when it's okay to close a credit card. If you are an excessive spender, you can't handle a sale going on and you not buying something, you might want to close a credit card. If you're a victim of identity theft, you might want to close your credit card. And then also, if you have high interest rates on your credit card. Now, a fourth reason that it would be okay for you to close your credit card is annual fees. So if you got a card and they're charging you annual fee and you never use this card, it's just sitting in your wallet and they're charging you an annual fee, I don't care if it's $7 a year, then maybe you want to go ahead and you want to close that card, because it makes no sense for you to have to pay, especially if you have good credit. It makes no sense that you would have to pay just for the privilege of holding on to somebody's card, a card that you don't even use. So that's a very good reason for you to go ahead and close a credit card. Now, I'm going to give a little bit of a caveat to that. Now, if you are paying that particular fee and you don't mind paying it, and say it is $7 and it's set up automatically, and then you'll never forget to go ahead and pay it, because that's the last thing you want to do is for that annual fee to come around and then you didn't notice it and you missed the payment, and then now maybe it'll negatively affect your credit score because you were 30 days late before you paid attention to it. If that's the case, then you definitely want to go ahead and get rid of it. But if it's the only card that you hold, then you definitely don't want to get rid of that card, because the 30% of your credit score is based off of your debt utilization. Now, if you've been listening to the show, you know exactly what debt utilization is.